it brings with it difficulty, but we have to be at the forefront. It's going to happen. And if it's going to happen, we have to take the lead over China. China's the primary threat in terms of that. You know, there are those people that say it takes over the human race. It's really powerful stuff, AI. So let's see how it all works out.
President-elect Trump talking about artificial intelligence there. I'm joined now by the former chairman and CEO of Google, Eric Schmidt. He's the author of a new book called Genesis, co-author with Craig Mundy at Microsoft, the late Henry Kissinger, Artificial Intelligence, Hope, and the Human Spirit. Thank you for coming in.
Thank you.
Today, you know, you lay out the stakes of AI in pretty stark terms. I want to read it right here. The advent of artificial intelligence is a question of human survival. Explain.
We need to take advantage, and this is what the book is about, the incredible power of the arrival of AI and a new kind of intelligence while preserving human dignity and values. It's going to be hugely hard. It's going to be very, very difficult to maintain that balance.
Why is it so difficult?
Because the systems move so quickly. Look at what social media has done in terms of the overall zeitgeist in our country and around the world. And now imagine a much more intelligent, much stronger way of sending messages, inventing things, the rate of innovation, drug discovery, and all of that, plus all sorts of bad things like weapons and cyber attacks and things like that. It's happening very, very fast.
You have a sentence that sounds innocuous, but actually isn't. Machines with the ability to define their own objectives are not far away.
We're soon going to be able to have computers running on their own, deciding what they want to do. And the way that happens is it's a series of decisions. We go from agents to then sort of more powerful goals, and eventually you say to the computer, learn everything and do everything. And that's a dangerous point. When the system can self-improve, we need to seriously think about unplugging it.
But wouldn't that kind of system have the ability to counter our efforts to unplug it?
Well, in theory, we better have somebody with the hand on the plug, and metaphorically. But the important thing is that the power of this intelligence, the ability for this kind of new intelligence, means that each and every person is going to have the equivalent of a polymath in their pocket. In addition to your show and all your notes and writers, you're going to have an Einstein and a Leonardo da Vinci to give you advice on your show. That will be true for everyone on the planet. We just don't know what it means to give that kind of power to every individual.
But isn't that just happening? Is there any real way to control it with all these different companies moving at all these different speeds?
Well, there's a problem which we call the eye of the needle in the industry, where all of the current companies are spending an awful lot of time testing and making sure that their models don't, for example, encourage you to kill yourself or show you how to build a nuclear weapon, all these obviously horrific things. What happens is the competition is so fierce, there's a concern that one of the companies will decide to omit the steps and then somehow release something that really does some harm.
Is there any way for us to know if that's happening?
Well, we'll discover it after it occurs. Today, the general agreement is that the companies are reporting to the government and each other the steps and the tests that they're doing, which is a good thing.
What about the question that President-elect Trump raised in that interview we saw right there, the competition with China? Where are we? Where's China?
Well, I used to think we were a couple of years ahead of China, but China has caught up in the last 6 months in a way that is remarkable. The fact of the matter is that a couple of the Chinese programs, one, for example, is called DeepSeek, looks like they've caught up. And this is even after these extraordinary efforts by the Trump and Biden administration to withhold high-powered chips. The Chinese are clever, and they understand the power of a new kind of intelligence for their industrial might, their military might, and their surveillance system.
I want to read you something that Sam Altman, one of the pioneers of AI, said last week. He said, true superintelligence, the system that is not just smarter than you and smarter than me, but smarter than all of us put together, just unbelievable capability. Even if we can make that technically safe, we're going to have some faith in our governments. Are governments doing what they need to do to regulate this?
Not yet, but they will, because they'll have to. The way this will work is that I've done this for 50 years. I've never seen innovation at this scale. It is literally remarkable human achievement of intelligence and the things that we can do and the advances in science and on and on. There's a point at which, maybe in the next year or two, where the systems can begin to do their own research. They're called AI scientists as opposed to human scientists. So you go from having 1,000 human scientists to 1 million AI scientists. I think that increases the slope. When you're moving at this space, it's very hard for your competitors to catch up. That's the race. It is crucial that America wins this race globally and in particular ahead of China.
But those are two different races, aren't they? You're talking, one, it's the race, the technological race, but also it doesn't appear to me, at least knowing my experience with government, that government can keep up with what the corporations are doing.
They're going to, one of the things the book talks about is the government has a role, right? Dr. Kissinger felt very strongly that the future of intelligence, what I'm talking about, should not be left to people like me, right? The technologists should not be the only ones making these decisions. We need a consensus about how to put the right guardrails on these things to preserve human dignity. It's very important.
So how do we develop that?
Well, it will come over time. Now, with the Trump administration, we have a new set of people who will examine this. In my view, in the Trump administration, it'll be largely focused on China versus the U.S., which is a good thing to focus on. And the U.S., as long as human values, and by that I mean democratic liberal values in the classic sense of individual freedom and respect for an individual, are preserved, we should be okay.
So if you were emperor of the world for 1 hour, what are the 3 things you'd order to get done to control this?
Well, the most important thing I do is make sure that the West wins, which means more money, more hardware, more people, that kind of stuff. The second thing that I would do is identify the worst possible cases and build a second system that watches the first. Humans will not be able to police AI, but AI systems should be able to police AI.
Eric Schmidt, thanks very much.
Thank you.